on this question because you put out some great numbers. $1 trillion, $5 billion youth program. So I want to draw some contrast with your rival candidates. Secretary Clinton recently proposed a New Deal for targeted investments in high-poverty communities around the country for job creation and infrastructure. Yesterday, we all heard from Governor Martin O'Malley, who said he is going to announce this week a new agenda for American cities. I and many others have talked about $200 billion a year investment in targeted investments in cities, particularly for communities of color, where African Americans and immigrants need the most help. So can you clarify for us that $1 trillion number? What will be the number? Is that over a 10-year period?
No, it's a 5-year period.
So 5 years.
It's a 5-year period.
He's with us, $200 billion a year.
We're going to go further. We're going to go further. Because Priscilla is right. There are communities, whether it is Baltimore or Detroit, where we desperately need to rebuild those local economies. And here's the point, which is an interesting point. We are spending $80 billion a year keeping people in jail. I can think of so many better ways to spend money rather than keeping people in jail. And when you take some of that money and you invest it in jobs and education, in hiring teachers and hiring mentors, you know what? We're going to save money by creating jobs. Yeah, it'll cost us some money to put people to work, but it is a lot less expensive to find a job than to put somebody in jail. All right? It costs a lot less money. So I believe in a full employment economy. I think that makes people, you know, you talked about fear. We talked about fear. I think, Mustafa, you talked about fear. Well, the same principle exists when I've been unemployed in my life. You don't feel very good if you're not a productive member of society, do you? You feel, am I worth anything? What am I worth? And then you get trouble. There was a study recently, people, middle-class people, mortality rate is going up. Their wages are going down, they don't have any jobs, they don't see any meaning in their lives. They're in despair. We can create an economy in which we rebuild our infrastructure, we transform our energy system, we have the best child care system in the world, not a dysfunctional one, where all of our kids who have the ability and desire get a college education. And when you do all of that, you create many, many millions of jobs, and you make the American people feel a lot better about themselves than many of us are feeling today. That is my goal.
Follow up on this. Would you target that $1 trillion into high poverty communities, communities of color, and knowing that race and racism is the historic big problem in American politics? How would you convince white working class voters that this is actually in their interest as well, to target resources to communities of color and immigrant communities?
Because I start off with this premise, that in the last 30 years, I want everybody to know this, there has been a massive redistribution of wealth from the middle class and working class to the top 0.1%. We've seen a doubling of the percentage of wealth they own in America. So what we are going to do is not say, oh, we're just going to give money to African American or Latino communities. I'm not going to do that. We are going to focus on communities most in need. But I got news for you. In white, rural states, there is also need. And I think in a country which is the wealthiest in the world, in a country which has seen a massive distribution of wealth from the poor to the rich, we are going to ask the wealthy, we are going to ask corporate America to start paying their fair share of taxes, so we're going to be able to put all people back to work, targeting, of course, those communities most in need. But it's not going to be exclusively. There are white rural areas where you have 20% unemployment in America, and I want to pay attention to them as well. We have the resources to do it, and that's what I intend to do.